Welcome to the Connected Spirit Podcast, a space where the mystical and the human experience merge, where we explore what it really means to walk a spirit-led path. I'm Courtney Dawson, an ethical medium and mentor, and for as long as I can remember, I have felt the presence of the spirit world. But my journey hasn't been simple. It's been one of self-discovery, healing from religious and emotional trauma, navigating fear, judgment, and the loneliness that comes with embracing something the world doesn't always understand. This podcast is here to take what was once considered woo and bring it into the real lived experience of being human. Because mediumship isn't just something we do, it's who we are. Here we dive into the conversations no one else is having, breaking down misconceptions, exploring the unseen, and normalizing the journey of deep connection. We'll talk about the beauty and the struggle of being a medium. We'll laugh, we'll reflect, we'll go deep. And most importantly, we'll remember who we are, why we're here, and how spirit moves through us all. So if you've ever felt something more, if you've ever questioned the unseen, or if you're simply ready to embrace the fullness of your spiritual path, you're in the right place. Medium with you. And her name is Connie Gable, and she is from Kansas City. And I've had the privilege of being her mentor within the Mediumship Mastery Circle. And today you're going to get to know who she is, a little bit about her backstory. So those of you that are listening, I know you're going to find some points within her story that are relatable and also very, very inspiring. So if you are on your own spiritual path and looking at developing your mediumship abilities, or maybe you're further along on your journey and you're feeling kind of stuck, stay with this episode, stay with us, because I know that her testimony, her sharing, her experiences is definitely going to be so empowering and really give you that inspiration that you need to continue on moving forward with the world of spirit. So Connie, thanks so much for being on the show, hon.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you, Courtney. I'm one of your biggest fans and followers.
Well, I'm one of your biggest fans too, because you are so humble. You have this electric energy about you where you bring the vibe up in the circle, which is incredible because we know that everybody's energy is so intricately linked, just like links in a chain. And you have become such a support system for other mediums in there. And you've been in the Mastery Circle going on, I think it's about 9 months now, because we started in the summer, and you've grown so much. But I want to kind of rewind the tape a little bit. Before you came into the Mastery Circle, can you share with us a little bit about what your spiritual path has looked like, even before you came into the Connected Spirit School?
Sure. Well, I think, like many of the people that you work with, my whole life since childhood, I knew I had some abilities. I had some precognition, some repetitive precognitive dreams. And back in the day, people just said they kind of ignored it. You didn't talk about it. People say, that's just a coincidence. But over time and study, and then through some personal losses, I've just become interested in more spiritual work. I've been fascinated by mediumship again since childhood. And so, after a while, then I got into studying near-death experiences, then got into studying more about mediumship because since I knew I had abilities, I thought, now I can do this. Can I do this? That whole thing. Took a couple of basic Mediumship 101 online classes just to get the foundation, which gave me the foundation of what ethical mediumship meant.
Yeah.
And learning to connect with my guides and the spirit world. But then I felt stuck. And I thought, where do I go next? I knew I needed mentorship on a personal level, a circle with other like-minded people. I just knew I had to find that next level group to connect with.
And what's interesting is your story starts off very, very similar, like other mediums. I mean, including myself, growing up, always having that awareness of the spirit world, knowing you have abilities, but you get to some point where you go, what I know isn't enough. It's not enough. I need more. But at times it can be a little bit challenging just identifying what that more is, right? So I wanted to I'm curious about your story. So having that interest, especially at a young age of mediumship, What was your family life like did they know you had these abilities and were they supportive?
My family was very supportive of me all the time. My mom always, and dad, my mom especially, always told me, you can do anything and be anything you want to be. You want to be
Mm.
an astronaut, go for it. I mean, and that's like in the 60s, when women were supposed to grow up and wear an
Yeah.
apron and all that. So they were very supportive. I think my mom always knew, my mom was interested in this kind of thing always. My sister reminded me that when I was in high school, so this is in the 70s, my mom had a tarot reader that came to the house. And so I was around it. I knew they supported me, but then all the tradition and everything you learn is, well, no, no, that's weird or whatever. And thank goodness for the 21st century of it's not weird at all. It's us connecting and remembering who we really are.
Absolutely. It is a remembrance. I love that you had that support because I know so many people, they don't. I mean, and there can be a variety of reasons why. Fast forward, when you get into your professional work, you're a nurse practitioner. Did your abilities support you or make it more challenging to do your work?
Both. I think because, and you and I have talked, I've been able to connect psychically forever. It just happens. So sometimes I would have a sense of what's wrong with someone even before the scientific part of it either verified or it was something different. So I always had that sense and I kind of put it on the back burner. But what was really a challenge for me as a nurse practitioner was I always knew there was something underneath the dis-ease, the illness, a quote unquote hole in someone's soul that their disease manifested like that. Anyway, so I was always in trouble for spending too much time with my patients because I would talk to them and talk to them and connect with them on a different level. So a gift and a challenge.
I could see that with you because you're one of the most compassionate and empathic people I know. And it's really, really a testament to you being so in tune with your soul. And then you move into a profession that can present some challenges, but also gives you the space to be able to work with the abilities. Fast forward, you come into the circle. You're with a group of other women, other mediums who are developing their abilities at all different kinds of levels. What was your first impression when you came into the circle? Because you, like you said, you've had some online experience and some classes, but this setting, it is quite different. What was your first impression when you got in, where you're like, am I over my head? Is this a full body? Yes, this is where I'm meant to be. I'm wondering if you could share with the listeners, what were your first impressions when you came in and having me mentor you in real time?
Well, when I first came in, it was like a sigh of relief. When I first connected with the people in our circle, which we're all so close now, but when I first connected, it was like, somebody that's like minded, and I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. Everybody else feels the same sets of emotions, feelings, doubts, fears, joys, all of that I do. And it was just like this big relief. It was like putting on a warm blanket on a cold day or something. And now, what was the second part of your question? Was it was how I felt, and then what was the second part of
Did
your
you
question?
did you feel like you were over your head when you got into the circle as far as can I do this? Or you're like, I can do this. Perfect. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, no, I didn't feel over my head because I felt the support. I knew that everybody else felt the same way. And I think everybody that enters know that they're right on that edge and they just need somebody to hold out their hand and help them over the hump, so to speak. So I didn't feel over my head. I was just glad I had the support. And then the personal mentoring is just so because when somebody asks a question, it's like any classroom, oh yeah, I have that question too. And then when I ask a question, other people support me, and then you let us know where we're right on, where, and there's like no condemnation or mistakes. It's just, well, try it this way. Well, this might work better. Well, let's let's explore this. So it's just a very supportive way to develop.
So would you say that you found being in this space that it's not a one step or like one specific formula to develop mediumship, it's more personalized to the unique abilities of each individual medium?
Oh, definitely. And that's something that you always say to us too. Well, and when we each, as you work with us and we work in small groups, we all learn that we all have such a unique style. And you always support that. And to quote you, you always say, I don't want you to be a cookie cutter of me or any other medium. You know, you be you. And I'm just here to support you and your abilities.
Absolutely.
That's Courtney's talking.
Yeah. And for you to know that off the top of your head, you can tell I have said this multiple times, and I'll always say that because I remember in the early days when I was sitting in circle, and I would love to sit in circle again just because it's so good for the support, the companionship, being with like-minded people, but even stretching yourself more with your mediumship abilities. Having the support of a mentor to go, hey, you know what? Your mediumship is so different than anybody else. Perfect. Do not be like me was such a permission slip where I didn't have to get into that comparison trap. And your opinion, your expertise, your experience being in the mastery circle, do you find or have you experienced that yourself or other mediums get into that comparison trap? Is that something that you see a lot in the circle? Because I know in other formats, other platforms, that is a concern and it is an issue that comes up for a lot of the mediums.
Yeah, not in our circle, I don't
No,
think. And
no.
in fact, those of us in our circle, if we think I hate to say bombed or did not do well in a reading, and then that person will post, "Oh, I just bombed," and all the rest of us go, "What are you talking about? You did not. You did this. You did that."
Yeah.
We all support each other, and it's like that song where it's about standing on somebody else's shoulders. It's
Mm.
like each of us put the other one up on the shoulders and say, oh no, you go, girl, that kind of thing.
Totally, totally. And within the Voxer mentorship, because you guys get that extra support once a week, y'all call each other circle sisters.
Hmm. Yes.
What is it like to have that support outside of the circle in those moments where maybe things are going a bit rough, either in your journey as a medium, maybe even personally, because there's some really candid stuff that gets shared in their personal stuff. And the beautiful sacredness of the space of the mediums in the circle is that you actually hold space for other people while they're navigating their lived experiences. As somebody who's a former nurse practitioner, you're an empath, you're a medium, how much value do you feel that offers somebody
Oh,
who's developing?
oh my gosh. It's so important because we all need that support system. I mean, we know that from science that people that don't have somebody that they can call in the middle of the night if something's wrong, those people are much higher risk for depression and physical illness. And I know for me in circle, I can think of two or three people that if it was the middle of the night and I was really upset, or I could call them, text them, and they'd be right there immediately. Boom. And so that's invaluable. I mean, it's just so important.
Lifelong friendships are created within the
Hmm.
circle. When you look back from when you started 9 months ago to where you are, what is one of the biggest achievements that you've experienced in your own mediumship?
I think to know, absolutely know that I can connect with the spirit world and do this. It's validated by my circle of sisters. And then that's the important part about you as a mentor in real time with us, because you're a medium and you can tune in. And so you help validate for us. Yes, you are. And each session you call us mediums, all of us mediums, because sometimes it's hard for us to say I'm a medium. And then to answer your question, I think I can finally say that now, 9 months later. I am a medium.
Oh, you
That's
absolutely
huge.
are. You absolutely are. And that's one thing that I love to do is tune into the students. Now, I know not every mentor does that and they have their own way of teaching. For me, I feel it's really important when you're working, whether we're maybe doing some psychic exercises, because I believe as a good medium is going to use their psychic abilities too, right? I mean, we're tuning into the energy of the recipient and we're picking up all of that information, which is helpful, but we're also maintaining that link with the spirit. But I think it's really beneficial to developing mediums. And I say that not as people, I'm not just referring to beginners. I think we're all developing. I mean, I'm going to be developing till I cross over because I'm always learning, right? But to have the ability to tune in and go, hey, did you notice that? Can you sense this? Yeah, yeah. Because sometimes we get so caught up in the intensity of it, we lack the ability to go, oh, I can talk about this too. And then it just allows this flow of more evidence to come through. And you go, oh my goodness, this is so multifaceted, the communication. And it's more dynamic and powerful. And Miss Connie, you have worked 2 professional events. How has in 9 months you have worked 2 professional events, the developing mediums, mini readings? Share with the audience a little bit. What was that like for you? You're like, oh my God, I'm actually working with the public.
So at the first time, it's like the normal human stuff, oh, I'm scared. Can I really do this? What if I bomb? All of that. But by the second time, I'm like, and plus through the validation process and all that. By the second time, I'm just like, I'm arm in arm with my spirit guide and saying, yeah, I don't even have to think about it, worry about it. I can do this. Yeah. And in fact, as you teach us, we don't want to think or try. We let it flow.
That's right. Absolutely. What would you say to the person who is on the fence or considering joining the Mediumship Mastery Circle? What would you say to them?
I would say if you're serious about me, and serious is a subjective word, serious about mediumship, whether it's you want to be a professional medium or not, if you just want to know that you're connecting with the world unseen, the beyond, that there's beyond us human 3D people. If you're really wanting to dive into that, circle is a must, because we can book learn, but to experience and feel, and that's one thing you've taught us about mediumship, it's feeling the connection, then so I would say do it if you really want to know.
Absolutely, because all of those things, taking the online classes and the self-study and reading the books are awesome. I think those are fantastic, but to be able to put it into practice and have someone there actually supporting you every single step of the way is just next level. And I mean, I'm an advocate for Circle. I love it. I sat in it for 7 years. It was the best thing I ever did for my mediumship, hands down. And to see the progress that mediums are making in the Mastery Circle compared to other circles that I've not only been a guest in, but also sat in, I go, what we're doing in here is next level. There's nobody sitting here 9 months later that is still struggling. They are making leaps and bounds in their progress. And I go, Spirit World, thank you so much for bringing these people in. And thank you for supporting these mediums, because we know, you and I know, this work doesn't exist without them. And it's just such an honor. So Connie, thank you so much, honey, for being on the show, sharing your story and a little bit about your life and your experience in the circle, because I know that you and just your whole demeanor is going to resonate and land with so many people.
Well, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
The Connected Spirit isn't just a podcast, it's a remembering of who we are, a remembering of our connection to spirit, and a remembering that we are never walking this path alone. Mediumship isn't just about speaking with spirits. It's about deepening the connection to our own spirit, to one another, and to the energy that moves through everything. So as you leave this space, ask yourself, what part of this conversation stirred something within you? What connection is spirit inviting you to strengthen? If this episode spoke to you, please share it, leave a review, and connect with me on Instagram at Medium Courtney Dawson, or visit my website at mediumcourtneydawson.com. Your presence in this community matters, because connection isn't just about what we seek, it's what we are. Until next time, trust your spirit, trust the unseen world, and trust that you are always, always connected.